What happens when you take an impressionable 9-year-old, throw them into the fires of Abby Lee Miller, sprinkle in an exploitative supervillain mother, and add a dash of having your lowest moments be televised for millions to see? You get JoJo Siwa. She's been up to some pretty silly shenanigans as of late. Of course, there's her rebrand that has been absolutely offensive on the eyeballs and the ears.
Green guest on my podcast.
But lately she's also been accused of stealing dances from people and I guess a logo to put on her merch. Every day I wake up and I continue to be disappointed. Something to note is the fact that her rebrand has made people mostly forget a lot of skeletons in her closet. You know, one of the biggest things that she hasn't addressed is the fact that she has helped continue the cycle of exploitation that was passed on to her through Abby Lee Miller and her mom, Jessalyn Siwa. She's publicly defended Abby Lee Miller on multiple occasions, going so far as to say Abby was always right.
To me, Abby was always right.
Abby's like the gold medalist in making children cry, making fun of their appearance, pretty much every bad thing you could do.
This is part of her ethnicity.
Well, it's weighing her down!
Something interesting is that you can look at everything JoJo's doing and realize that the foundation for who she is and why she's done certain things with her rebrand all actually start before JoJo Siwa was even born. See, her mom actually had a plan for JoJo's life that she managed to carry out pretty successfully. I feel like JoJo's mom has just not gotten enough attention. I mean, she's the type to make a masterclass on like, I turned my daughter into a business, and you can too. When you look at a lot of the things JoJo does now, it all just looks like an extension of her mom's strategy combined with the teachings of Abby Lee Miller. So it's time to go back to the beginning so we can understand why JoJo is JoJo. But before we get into all of that, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Factor. Factor helps take the stress out of meal planning, running to the stores, cooking fatigue, and prep work, and instead gives you chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. And they have a ton of variety because they have over 35 different meals to choose from each week. They have gourmet options like with filet mignon, truffle butter, shrimp, asparagus. And so if you want to eat pretty bougie, they have you covered. And if you have a specific diet like keto, vegan, or vegetarian, they have all of those options too, and so much more. Factor's super convenient because the meals are delivered right to your door and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. So I really like it because this means you end up having a lot more free time. And something that really matters to me is that Factor cares about sustainability because they offset 100% of their delivery emissions and they source 100% renewable energy for all of their production offices. See, with Factor, I can feel assured that I'm making a sustainable choice. Get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders using my link. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code with your phone. Thank you, Factor, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to talking about JoJo Siwa. Now you see, since JoJo Siwa could walk, she's had to perform. Her first little step she took as a tiny little JoJo toddler might as well have been onto the stage. See, Jessalyn already had JoJo's life charted out before JoJo was born. Jessalyn said if she had a girl, she was going to be a dancer and she was going to like it.
Like, I knew the moment I was having a girl, she was gonna be a dancer, she was gonna wear bows, tutus, and she was gonna like it.
Instead of Jessalyn looking at the idea of having a daughter and thinking normal human thoughts, Jessalyn was thinking, dance for me, child. Perform. At the age of 2, JoJo couldn't even read or write yet, but she was already having her hair dyed on a regular basis.
No, your hair is getting really dark. We're gonna need to lighten this up.
I have been dyeing my hair since I was like 2, maybe 1.5.
And you know, I can't believe it needs to be said, but hair bleach for toddlers, not good. It's kinda bad. As soon as JoJo could stand without, you know, like falling over like toddlers do, she was put into dances. One of the interesting things about Jessalyn Siwa is that she hasn't kept her mouth shut about how much she wanted to turn JoJo into a money-making machine. She's just said a bunch of stuff that makes her look quite awful. When JoJo was 1.5, she began to show off her entertainer side, doing a movement Jessalyn called the hottie dance, while her mom sprinkled glitter on her. Jessalyn, why? Jessalyn then says that she would wake JoJo up in the middle of the night to make her dance for house guests. Allegedly, she would also wake JoJo up in the morning and make her create YouTube videos. My child doesn't need sleep. I need money. Now, an interesting piece of information I found out is the fact that JoJo was actually homeschooled. Something interesting about homeschooling is that the standard of the school really depends on the parent who's doing the homeschooling. So if we're looking at homeschooling with the context that Jessalyn Siwa is the teacher, it feels very controlling, like it's just priming her to have one direction she follows in life. You know, she's not being exposed to all of these different lifestyles and different perspectives. It's just Jessalyn and it's just dance. At least that's how it's come off in the article. See, dance moms got popular at a really horrible time in JoJo Siwa's life. I mean, it was the 2010s version of a gladiator arena, except instead of gladiators, it's very tiny dancers, and instead of setting a lion loose, they released Abby Lee Miller. They had Abby yelling at them or making fun of their physical appearance. They were regularly ranked from best to worst on a pyramid in front of everybody. And it gets so much worse when you actually look at everything Abby Lee Miller did, but we'll get into all of that later. Sloppy, boring. And of course the Siwas were regular viewers of the show, and then a spin-off emerged, Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition, a show where a bunch of dancers competed for a cash prize. And this is where Jessalyn saw the path to fame, and she signed JoJo onto the show without even telling her. She didn't even ask. She saw the dance mom's environment, saw how toxic it was, and yet the thought of even asking JoJo, let alone telling her, saying, hey, this is happening, never even occurred to her. We have found the mother of the decade. When Jessalyn was on Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition, the first words out of her mouth was how it was her life mission to make JoJo a star.
It's my mission in life to make JoJo a star.
And that could almost sound really supportive if we didn't know the full picture, if we didn't know better. And on the show, JoJo was received so well by the audience that this is what led her to be signed on to Dance Moms, where the full extent of Abby Lee Miller's evil rampage was felt. JoJo's experience on the show didn't appear to be very fun.
JoJo! Have you learned nothing?
We really gotta look at the multiple horrible actions committed by Abby and how JoJo eventually came to say, as an adult,
Abby was always right.
So let's go over to the Abby Lee Dance Company. So Abby has this reputation as a bad woman who yelled at children and made them cry. And, you know, even kind of looked like she liked making kids cry. But you guys, that isn't true. That's not who Abby is. She's much worse. It goes a little deeper. She would sort of do some psychological manipulation, you know, planting seeds, trying to increase the tension between people. In one infamous clip, Abby told a dancer to get her ears fixed, implying that her ears were ugly or something.
Why would you do that to my daughter?
Like, Abby, how old were you? Were you like a 40-something-year-old woman? I don't know how old Abby Lee Miller is. Old enough to know better, old enough to not pick a fight with a child. But she did. Probably because picking a fight with a child is the only type of fight she can win. Since the one time she tried to chomp at a mom's finger, she got smacked. Despite yelling at kids a lot, she's actually pretty fragile. I mean, there's that one scene where she goes on her phone during someone's dance, and this other mom comes up and says, "You're gonna preach theater etiquette to my kids? Put your phone away." That's all she said. And then Abby backed out of the theater, zoomed away, and filed a police report over someone telling her to get off her phone.
Abby, what are you doing?
I'm filing a police report.
I mean, to be fair, that's like me playing Roblox. If someone tells me, you know, stop playing Raise-A-Peter, I might file a police report as well. Now, lots of people watching Dance Moms had some questions and concerns when they saw how Abby treated the dancer Nia.
Fix this hair. It's like a log coming out of the side of her head.
And most viewers of the show, given the amount of evidence that has piled up over time, have come to the conclusion that Abby used her screen time to be a discriminatory piece of garbage.
Is this part of her ethnicity?
Well, it's weighing her down.
And behind the scenes, things were worse. See, another dancer on the show, Cameron Smith, was on season 8, but only for a really short time because her mom pulled her off of the show because Abby's discrimination and hatred was so vile. According to Cameron's mom, Abby told her, "I know you grew up in the hood with only a box of 8 crayons, but I grew up in the country club with a box of 64. Don't be stupid." So in my videos, you know, I try to be humorous or whatnot, and I know that right now I'm wearing an Abby Lee Miller costume, but let's just be serious here for a second, right? How hopeless and how far gone do you have to be that your brain is this filled with hatred? You're reaching so far as to start talking about the amount of crayons you have. Then Abby told her that the only reason her daughter was cast was to be a token. Look in the mirror. That's the only reason you are here. They need a sprinkle of color.
Abby was always right.
Now, one of JoJo's main defenses of Abby is that Abby taught her how to survive in the industry.
That's normal. That taught me how to survive in the industry.
It appears that she's conveying the message that what Abby did, it was rude and it was mean, but it's normal in the industry. So her being mean and that being normal means it's okay. So for those unfamiliar with Dance Moms, there's a mom, Christy, and she made a video on social media saying that Gianna is not nice. And this situation doesn't involve JoJo at all, but JoJo decided to make a social media response saying,
"That is absolutely the most disgusting and ignorant thing that I have heard anybody say."
I think it's wild that that is the most disgusting and vile thing JoJo has heard anyone say, when she was literally in the Dance Moms studio watching Abby talk to people. And then someone asked JoJo, "Do you regret making that video?" And JoJo replied,
Do you regret making that video?
I don't regret it because I try not to regret anything.
"Look, I love the confidence, but let's try to have some humility. Let's try to be a little humble here, okay?" So remember, JoJo's career skyrocketed right after Dance Moms, right? During this, she met the one and only Colleen Ballinger. If you've been on the internet, you know the situation. And then when JoJo became an adult, when everybody was talking about the mountains of evidence against Colleen, JoJo decided to proudly defend Colleen.
The problem is the internet was able to capitalize off of her cancellation, and they still are continuing to. It's not okay because a lot of it is based off of lies.
Now, Colleen, being an influential figure in JoJo's life, she might have actually passed on some strategy to her. See, just like Colleen stuck her head in the sand with her controversy and never addressed anything properly, JoJo's done the same. In the year 2020, it was pretty clear the Siwas were gonna start facing a massive issue. JoJo Siwa is aging. She's starting to slowly exit the appeal of her target demographic, which meant it was time for the Siwas to start making some moves if they wanted this brand to last longer. So you can see this idea emerge. What if you let JoJo move on to potentially bigger and better things, but also have a safety net in place in case that fails? Have something to keep her original audience. So come 2021, Siwa's Dance Pop Revolution was born. The show was about girls competing for a spot on this new girl group called XOMG Pop. And a few months ago, a Rolling Stone article came out revealing that a lot of mistreatment took place on this show, mainly with Jesselyn being an instigator, but JoJo Siwa didn't make things any better. There was a dancer, Leia, who was born with a spinal cord defect where it failed to form properly. And Leia's had a few different medical operations over the course of her life. And Leia had a spinal cord surgery, and just a few weeks after that, Jesselyn made her attend a video shoot disregarding her circumstances. Jesselyn wasn't accommodating at the very least, and apparently, according to the article, she would actually disability shame. It says that the Sandersons and two sources close to the production said that Jesselyn mocked a contestant with hypotonia, a disorder that causes low muscle tone, by mocking her for being unable to move her arms and legs, also allegedly making fun of her speech and even mimicking her. The article also goes on to say that JoJo was also mean, saying she helped to build a cutthroat environment and pit the members against each other, all things torn from the Abby Lee Miller playbook. Here it says, JoJo was shouting at them in their headsets, screaming, "You're sucking, bring it up, the energy is low, you look sloppy, this isn't good enough." Sloppy? Now where have I heard that before? Sloppy, boring,
lazy.
I know that JoJo has been accused of stealing dances, stealing designs, but now is she just stealing Abby Lee Miller's manner of speech? What is going on here? Is she a parrot? She's a parrot in a human skin suit. Now, given the nature of this controversy, with JoJo being horrible to the dancers, copying Abby Lee, not really ever coming out speaking against what her mom did, not really ever addressing what JoJo herself did, it was a controversy a lot of people were bringing attention to and asking her to address. And then her rebrand came at just the perfect time to distract everybody. This might be the worst thing I've done for content. So let's talk about JoJo Siwa's rebrand. I think we all know a lot about the rebrand. I mean, it started on a really low note, with her release of Karma. Guest on my podcast.
Oh my gosh.
She also got a tattoo of her eyes in Karma. I feel like she's gonna regret that in a few years. Though, I mean, she did say she doesn't actually regret anything in her life, so maybe not. A lot of people saw her rebrand as a failure, but the way that JoJo defines a success or a failure is just based on how much attention she's getting.
I realize that anything I do is gonna piss people off, which is why I want to do it.
I mean, let's say you have 10,000 haters. If even 5% of them eventually come around to you and start thinking, you know what, maybe this person isn't actually that bad. Out of the 10,000 people, that's like 500 new fans. And there are certainly more than 10,000 people negatively talking about JoJo Siwa. Long term, I don't think her rebrand is gonna actually work. I mean, the main reason people are paying attention to her is the shock. The whole concept of shock is something that's sudden and kind of goes quickly. So it can definitely be a tool to pull people in, but you have to offer up something. You have to be good enough for people to stay and stick around. And in addition to buying the rights to sing Karma, she bought all of her other songs as well. On a TikTok she posted, she said, "Here to confirm for ya, I don't write my songs, I sing them. I have an incredible team of songwriters that write songs and pitch them to me to see if I want to make the song mine. It's kind of like when you buy clothes. You don't make it, but it's yours after you buy it. They also always get their credit and, of course, their check. I do enjoy the writing process, however, for me as an artist, that is not my specialty, so I like to work with different songwriters to sing their lyrics, add a feeling to it, and ultimately bring the song to life." She's bringing their song to life. It's just like buying clothes. What about stealing clothes, JoJo? There's this band Tool that had a logo like this, and for JoJo's construction era, she made a construction vest in her merch, and she put that logo on the back of it. These two look kinda similar. Do you think this is a coincidence? Let me know in the comments. It seems JoJo also stole a dance from somebody. She posted a TikTok a couple weeks ago saying, "My new move," with a dance called the windmill dance, which was popularized on TikTok by someone named Emily. And Emily commented, "Really?" on JoJo's TikTok, and everybody else is talking about how JoJo should credit the original, and JoJo has not addressed that to this day. I'm trying to make a disappointed face, but my eyebrows won't move under this face paint. It's like face paint Karma Botox. Something funny about all of this is that JoJo says that her marketing about being cringe and out there, right? Being extreme. This is all her idea and she knows what she's doing.
Who does JoJo Siwa's marketing? They always are like, sorry dude, it's JoJo. That is the most true statement. All that comes from this psychotic brain of mine.
Except being over the top, being extreme, isn't even her own idea. Once again, we have JoJo not being particularly creative or original because this whole being extreme and getting screen time no matter what thing was just passed on to her by Jesselyn.
Guy that casted us, I said, "Do you have any advice for me before I go film this show?" And he said, "Yes, I do. Commit to the crazy. Commit to being crazy." Okay, I'm gonna commit to being crazy.
I mean, what has JoJo done that's actually unique to her? But yeah, that's about all I have to say for this video. If you like the content, feel free to stick around, subscribe if you want to. Otherwise, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.